What's up guys, John O'Neill here, Cressey Sports Performance. Today I'm going to be going through a handful of ways to use the Glute-Ham raise machine that are not your typical Glute-Ham raise. So first up, all of these are going to require a slightly closer setup. So usually this metal plate would be at least one, if not two notches further back. But the first one we'll go over, beginner variation called the Glute-Ham raise iso hold. All I'm going to do is get my feet flat into the back here, and I'm going to use this to create context for how to use your heels to tuck your hips underneath your rib cage. So I'm here, I'm going to get into full hip extension, and then all I'm going to do is fall out a couple inches and then come back. If you do this correctly and you set it up correctly, you're not going to be able to cover a ton of ground. So that's the first one, Glute-Ham raise iso hold. Second one is going to be layering off that and using our hips from a position of full extension into flexion, back into full extension. So we call it a Glute-Ham raise hip extension, but we are here, get into that end range setup of an iso hold. From there, I want to feel some tension on my hamstrings, and then from there, I'm going into hip flexion, back into hip extension. I might need to reset in between reps, but you're going to try to hold out there, hold constant hamstring tension, and go from flexion into extension the same way that you would do so on a deadlift. You can even work on arm position on a deadlift, so if you want to feel your arms getting long and feeling your lats engaged like you would with a bar in your hands, you're here, hold that position, come back up. It's really good for novice deadlifters to create context for a hip hinge that they can use in other activities. The next two are going to be a little more advanced. So the first one will be a Glute-Ham raise razor curl. So I'm going to set up here, and I'm going to get into position of hip flexion, and then from there I'm going to try to own this position of hip flexion and drive my body straight out. I'm going to use my hands so I can talk over it, and then straight back. Typically you wouldn't use your hands. I might need to be set up a little further away, but it's just here. I'll demonstrate again, guide my body out, come directly back, trying to keep my chest square to the ground the whole time. The next one is going to be a Glute-Ham raise waterfall. So the waterfall is essentially just like the razor curl, except I'm going to get into a lot more knee extension earlier. So what I'm going to do is I'm here, and instead of reaching straight out, I'm going to get straight down, hold this position, and then drive up and get all the way back up, unlike the razor curl. So I'm getting here into hip flexion, into knee extension, knee flexion, hip extension, repeat. In addition, other than a regular Glute-Ham raise, typically if somebody can do all those, they'll be doing regular Glute-Ham raises, but you can elevate the machine. So if you put it on a decline, just like a bench, it'll get easier. If you put it on an incline, it'll get harder. That's the same for any of these variations. And then the other ways we'll use it will be holding a weight, just to load any of those variations, or with a banded reach. That way the band is going to force you to keep your center mass back and help you avoid lumbar extension.